There's no need to describe the negative impact relegation leaves on a fan. It's one of the last things we would wish for a football team. In fact, I've previously prepared many videos on the concept of relegation, all of which looked at the negative side of it. Today, however, we will focus on teams that have never been relegated in their history, highlighting not the downside but the club's tradition and historical success. Instead of going through teams one by one, we will progress by looking at the most important leagues in Europe and the world. Before we start our list, if you're interested in such football videos, be sure to subscribe and join our community. If you'd like to show support, you can also like the video. I want to start our list with the Premier League, considered actively as the world's best league. In England, among the top 6 teams, only Manchester City has been relegated, and they have been relegated a total of 10 times. In fact, the club dropped as far as League One in 1998 before being sold to the Arabs, and it wasn't a very popular team. Today, the Blues, with 1 Champions League title and 9 league championships, were only a team with 2 championships before the Arab takeover. Another team outside the top 6 that has never been relegated is Everton. Like Manchester City, Everton has 9 league championships and also boasts a Cup Winners' Cup. Additionally, with a long history of 145 years, Everton experienced one of its worst periods last year, finishing the league in 17th place, just 2 points above the relegation zone with 36 points. They narrowly avoided relegation. Another team that had a tough season in England was Chelsea. Under the ownership of Russian investor Roman Abramovich, Chelsea reached its peak, but after the team was sold to Todd Boehly, they finished the league in 12th place. Let's continue with our video on the British Isles. While there are 6 teams in the English Premier League that have never been relegated, in Scotland, this number is only 2. You might be imagining these 2 teams as Rangers and Celtic, but that's not the case. Aberdeen and Celtic have never been relegated throughout their history. Another Scottish giant, Rangers, was demoted to the 4th tier in 2012. But why? Everything was going well for Rangers between 2001 and 2009. During this period, the club won 3 Scottish League championships and reached the final of the UEFA Cup. However, in 2012, a major case was opened against Rangers, accusing them of tax evasion. According to the case, Rangers had evaded £35 million in taxes between 2001 and 2009, as determined by the UK courts. Rangers were fined £14 million for tax evasion. With a new burden of £49 million, the club's debt reached £150 million. The club went bankrupt, and a trustee was appointed. Despite those dark days, Rangers, with the support of their fans and proper restructuring, managed to climb back to the Scottish Premier League in just 4 years, winning 3 leagues in the process. In 2021, they became the Scottish champions, and a year later, they once again reached the final of the UEFA Europa League. Before closing the chapter on Scotland, I would like to mention Aberdeen. In the 1980s, Aberdeen was led by the renowned Sir Alex Ferguson. Ferguson, with a modest team like Aberdeen, won a total of 10 trophies, including the Cup Winners' Cup, a UEFA Super Cup, and 3 Scottish League titles. Since Aberdeen's last championship in 1985, no team other than Rangers and Celtic has become the champion. There are 3 teams in the history of La Liga that have never been relegated, but these 3 teams are not Atletico, Real, and Barcelona. In recent years, Atletico Madrid, which has reached levels to compete with Barcelona and Real, has been relegated twice in its history. In addition to Barcelona and Real, the other team that has never been relegated is Athletic Bilbao. Athletic Bilbao, with a squad consisting exclusively of players from the Basque region of Spain, is the 4th team with the most championships, boasting 8 titles. They have won the Copa del Rey, Spanish Kings Cup, 24 times, even more than Real's 20 titles. In the Dutch league, there are 4 teams that have never been relegated, and you can probably guess 3 of them: PSV, Ajax, and Feyenoord. The 4th team is FC Utrecht. Utrecht, a team without a championship in the Dutch league and unable to compete at the top, has never been relegated throughout its history. Generally, established and successful teams can achieve this, but Utrecht has an interesting tradition in this regard. They neither move up nor get relegated. In Ligue 1, there is only one team that has never been relegated throughout the history of the French league, and that is Paris Saint-Germain. Despite not experiencing much championship success in the past, PSG has consistently remained in the top tier without facing relegation. Lyon, which won 7 consecutive titles from 2002 to 2008, faced relegation twice in its history. Another historically significant French team, Marseille, was relegated due to match-fixing allegations after winning the Champions League in 1993. Although they were the champions of the French league in the same year, their domestic title was revoked. However, UEFA confirmed Marseille's Champions League victory. Despite claims from some teams, including CSKA Moscow, that Marseille's management offered them money, UEFA did not backtrack. Relegated by the French Federation, Marseille returned to the top flight 2 years later. Since then, however, they have only managed to win the French league once. There's not much that can surprise us in the Portuguese league. The three giants of the league, Sporting Lisbon, Porto, and Benfica, have never been relegated throughout their history. Braga, which we could consider the fourth major team in the league, later ascended to the Portuguese Primeira Liga. It wasn't initially in the top tier when the league was established. In Germany, we encounter an interesting situation. In the Bundesliga, which is considered to have been played since 1903, there is not a single team that has been in the top tier since its inception. Even Bayern wasn't present in the early days. It was initially more like a tournament among teams we haven't even heard of today. Bayern's first championship came 29 years after the league's establishment, in 1932. Bayern has never been relegated throughout its history, but it was not one of the founding members of the league. Additionally, Borussia Dortmund has been relegated once in its history but managed to return in 1975. Due to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the Russian league has a relatively short history, starting in 1992. There are three teams that have never been relegated: CSKA Moscow, Spartak Moscow, and Lokomotiv Moscow. Zenit, which has won a UEFA Cup and a UEFA Super Cup and has been the Russian league champion for the past 5 years, has been relegated before. In the league's inaugural year in 1992, Zenit was relegated. They returned in 1995 and, with the support of Gazprom in subsequent years, became one of Russia's major teams. The Italian league has only one team that has never been relegated in its history, and that's the current Champions League finalist, Inter. AC Milan, one of Italy's biggest teams with 7 Champions League titles, was relegated in 1980 due to a match-fixing scandal known as the Totonero betting scandal. In the Totonero case, which involved match-fixing, not only AC Milan but also Lazio, a current strong Italian team, was relegated. The then president of Milan, Colombo, was banned for life from football, and a points deduction was imposed on 5 Italian teams. Juventus, the team with the most championships in Italy, was also relegated in 2006 due to the Calciopoli match-fixing scandal, which came to light by coincidence. A group of police investigating connections to a mafia network stumbled upon evidence of clubs manipulating referees in wiretapped phone conversations. Juventus, Milan, Lazio, and Fiorentina were found to be involved in match-fixing after further investigation. Juventus lost their 2005 title after the trial, and the 2006 title was awarded to Inter. Besides relegation, Juventus also had 9 points deducted for the following season. While Milan, Lazio, and Fiorentina were not relegated, they had their participation rights in European competitions revoked, and points deducted. The current Serie A champion, Napoli, has not been relegated due to match-fixing scandals, but the club has faced relegation 6 times in its history. Before being acquired by De Laurentiis, Napoli was not a strong team and even dropped to Serie C at one point. In the Greek league, there are 3 teams that have never been relegated: Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, and PAOK. These 3 teams, considered as the big 3 in the history of the Greek league, have never faced relegation. Olympiakos has won 47 championships, Panathinaikos has 20, and PAOK has 3. Additionally, AEK, the current Greek league champion with 13 titles, was relegated in 2013. Starting that season with a 3-point deduction, AEK Athens could only gather 27 points and was relegated at the end of the season. Due to their inability to meet financial requirements, AEK was relegated to 2 divisions and dropped to the 3rd tier of Greek football. Within 2 years, the team managed to promote from both lower leagues, rejoining the Greek league and experiencing 2 more championships after overcoming those challenging times. In Turkey, there are 3 teams that have been in the league since its establishment and have never been relegated: Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, and Besiktas. These 3 long-standing clubs have never faced relegation in Turkish football history. At one point, Fenerbahçe and Besiktas were involved in a match-fixing case, leading to legal actions in European football. They received penalties from UEFA, but the Turkish Football Federation did not impose any relegation penalties.